Meanwhile, we've got Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. Well, he's in danger of being arrested with some of the commentary he's been tweeting. Douglas, extraordinary stuff. He seems to be morphing into Donald Trump if his work on X is to be believed. In the past couple of weeks, he's posted about coming for illegal immigrants. He said he'll put Britain first and end the reliance to cheap overseas labour that's taking jobs from Brits. He posted, if you want to live in the UK, you should speak English. That's common sense. Bravo. He also said settlement in the UK is a privilege. That has to be earned. It's not a right. And he also said this about strong borders, that the Tories lost control of our borders and let net migration soar to record levels, undercutting hardworking Brits. I won't stand for it, Douglas. Is the Prime Minister going to get a visit from the constabulary for these sorts of non-crime hate incidents? Because that is a real thing in Britain. I'm frankly a little bit surprised by how he's become some right-wing reactionary.
Mm. Well, of course, if anyone else had said this, if I'd have said this or you'd have said this, Rita, I'm sure Keir Starmer and his police force would take a different view. But of course, I don't believe a word of it. First of all, it's perfectly true that the last Conservative government lost control of the borders. Absolutely true. It's also true, though, that Keir Starmer has lost control of the borders. Almost 1,000 people came in a couple of days ago, in one day alone, on the illegal crossings across the Channel on boats organised by criminal gangs. When he says that it's not a right to land in Britain and just stay, he's right. It's just something anyone can do. However, it's just something that nobody in his government or his border force are doing anything to stop. They behave as though it's impossible to stop tens of thousands of people arriving just across the Channel every year illegally, let alone the hundreds of thousands of other people who arrive in the UK every year, legally and illegally, and get net migration up to almost 1 million in the last couple of years. But just as I say, this is the most cynical tactic. And I, at any rate, don't believe a word of what Keir Starmer says. I have heard politician after politician, Labour and Conservative, say this for decades. They always say the same pabulum. They say when they feel like they might need to just sort of enforce the base a bit, they say these things like, I think that people should speak English if they come to England. And everyone's meant to say, my gosh, what an amazing breakthrough. It doesn't matter a darn if you're losing your country all the time because you don't enforce your borders. This is I don't even know if Keir Starmer has seen these tweets. I'm sure he doesn't write them. His own Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary and others have distanced themselves from the language he's used himself. But it's just language games, Rita. That's all it is. It's language games. They don't do anything, not in the real world. Thousands of people will continue to break into Britain every week illegally. And in the meantime, what do we have? Keir Starmer, the brave tweeter. Well, as you say, Rita, it's lucky that he's Prime Minister and not, for instance, a white or working class mother in the north of England, or otherwise he'd be having his collar felt this evening.
Absolutely. Douglas, before you go, you've written a superb piece for The Telegraph about America's leftist media paying a price for their role in covering up Joe Biden's incapacity. It's been obvious incapacity for some years. You argue the fact that so many serious journalists denied what was obvious to all of us explains why trust in their reporting has collapsed. Is the damage too steep to fix, or can they restore their credibility?
Well, you know, the interesting thing with the American media class is that so much of it just covered this up for years, not just the past 4 years, for many years with Joe Biden, even before the 2020 election. They were all rooting for him. And so they covered things over for him. And now they all say that they're brave truth warriors for writing books about it now. They claim things like, you know, well, there was a sort of cover up from the White House about the extent to which Joe Biden was mentally incapacitated. There wasn't just a cover up from the White House or Jill Biden. There was a cover up by much of the American media, but not all. Just as not all the media was to blame for this. There is a fall off in public trust in America, as elsewhere in the media, because of a concerted cover up like that. But Rita, if that same political and media class had read the New York Post, they'd have been able to know about this, 5 years before they themselves agreed and broke the story. If they'd have watched you, Rita, and me, Rita, on Sky Australia talking in recent years, they'd have seen that we knew something was up. We identified something was up. You and I weren't silent when Joe Biden was claiming that he'd just spoken to dead world leaders, or was wandering off stage and off script in ways that were weird even for Biden. So no, it's not everyone who ignored this, but it really is quite hard to stomach to see the very journalists who spent years covering up Biden's cognitive decline, now writing books saying, it turns out that Biden in 2024 wasn't peak Biden after all. And how could we have known? There were no signs, nothing to tell us.
Yeah, when it doesn't matter, suddenly they've got the breaking news. And it's been fascinating to see the reception they're getting from other leftist media who are treating all this as if it's some revelation when the rest of the country has known this, as we have discussed it for years. Douglas Murray, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.